pocket healers, pocket characters. If you play any PvP game that uses classes or characters, you're well familiar with these, whether you want to or not. Whether it's e-daters at 4 AM in your lobby, or one of your friends decides they want to play League with you, but they don't want to play League with you, we've all had to deal with our fair share of these. So I decided I want to talk about them. So I welcome you all to an Irish review of Pocket Sport. So what is a Pocket Sport? At least for this video, I'm defining it as any character whose main win condition is to suck the dick. I mean, pump all of their resources into just one character on their team. But an example always works better than my explanations that I come up with at 2 AM as I'm writing these scripts. So I'd like to introduce everyone to what I believe are the two poster children of Pocket Sports. Mercy Overwatch and Yuumi League of Legends. Latching onto one ally is their biggest condition or mandatory? Check. Single target healing? Check. Boost the damage of only one ally? Check. Has movement that completely relies on one ally? Check. You all see my point anyway. For both of these characters, their main win condition is to just spam everything they have down the throats of one of their damage dealers and either die or win the game trying. Now, why are they bringing all this up anyway? Because I hate it. I really think that pocketing is very unhealthy for games. So let's dive into it further. We'll start for a moment with Mercy, because I would argue she is where pocketing ended up becoming a term. But before I do, for my own mental health, a few things are going to need to be clarified. 1. I'm not a support player. I play DPS. In any game, I have the most fun running around killing enemies. So if anything, should I not be the person who adores pocket healers the most? It's just giving you a power fantasy. And you'd be right, especially since I do love playing Pharah myself. But that doesn't mean I think it's a good thing. So with that out of the way, let's start with some backstory. Mercy has been a hot topic ever since the beginning of Overwatch with her multi-res, but I didn't play the game back then, so we're just going to ignore that and move on to 2017's Moth meta, where I did start playing, and basically she's been in a relatively weak state as a healer since pretty much 2020 onwards, ever since these two initial phases of her. She's been delegated one task if she's on any team, whether it's Overwatch 1 or 2, or probably Overwatch 3 if we end up getting that, and it's, you guessed it, pocketing. The best way for Mercy to get any value out of her single target heal, damage boost, and resurrection is to pick whichever of the two DPS is committing more crimes and juice them up. Whether it's 2021 Pokash Echo, 2022 Sojourn, or even like 2023 Pharah, there's one consistent thing in Mercy's kit that has had her reduced from the previously strongest healer in Overwatch to merely a pocketing bot and its damage boost. So let's talk about it. In case you don't know, though I'm sure you already guessed, damage boosts boost damage. Shocker, I know. But this is where every issue with Mercy arises. Countless characters have needed nerfs because of Mercy's damage boost, and the only reason they even became massive problems was because they would be combined with Mercy, but she was never touched. Like I just said, Ashe and Echo back in 2021, one of the strongest, most common DPS duos, because Mercy would just bounce between them, letting Ashe one-shot headshot the majority of the cast, and Overwatch 1 Echo was Overwatch 1 Echo. Same thing with Sojourn when Overwatch 2 launched, and Pharah, well look, I'm biased, but Pharah became a fair problem a couple months ago. Either way, damage boost is what gives rise to Mercy's problems, so it's time to fix it. What I would propose is quite simple. You see damage boost, yeah? Alright, we take damage boost, and we axe it. It's gone. Goodbye. No more damage boost anymore. But that doesn't exactly fix anything, and it's definitely going to cause problems, so obviously we gotta do some recompense here. Starting off, we're changing up her heal beam. Now, I'm not saying that the beam itself is a problem. As someone who played Overwatch as their first proper FPS, I did originally play Mercy because I couldn't aim for shit. We're keeping both beam and its single target nature, but I would say it should be changed to be a reverse ramping heal. When you first heal someone, it should have increased healing. Her current being 55 healing per second, I'd argue going up to 80 healing per second and beginning to ramp down to maybe 20 healing per second, just slightly more than Lucio heal aura after about 1.5 seconds, would be enough to encourage her to use Guardian Angel to bounce away to another teammate instead of just sitting behind a wall as soldier to soldier things. I'd also say a cooldown per target on this healing would be warranted, but personally I don't know if it would be as simple as waiting 1 or 2 seconds for your initial burst and maybe just reset after you heal a different ally. To begin with, an idea like this has to be tested in practice, and I don't know how to code this into the workshop. But anyway, we've got one more ability to clear up, and it's the fact that we need a new right-click beam. And honestly, I only have one idea for this, and it's quite simply a speed boost. Genuinely, lads, I did not expect to go down this path for this video. I was writing the script, and then suddenly I went down a path of here's how we fix the characters. Originally I was just planning to talk about them, but it's a little bit too late now, so let's just keep rolling with it. So to replace damage boost, I mean, there's a whole host of things you can do, some of which I'll bring up a little bit later when it's another character who I want to talk about. But I'd say, for now, give Mercy, like, change the right click to like a single target speed boost or something. Somewhere between Lucio Amp and Lucio regular speed aura, or something of the sort. I'm not gonna lie, the only reason I'm suggesting this is purely so that people don't run Mercy Lucio in my games anymore. But when I think about that for more than 2 seconds, it actually makes me realize there's a good chance this would encourage people to run it, because you'd probably see a Mercy right-clicking on Reinhardt and a Lucio amps beating him just to see what the hell will happen to the charge. But either way, for this one at least, I'm gonna need the opinions of some actual Mercy players who don't use Reddit. So if you could head into the comments and tell me what you'd like to replace Mercy damage boost with. Or even if you want to keep damage boost, but let's be real, at least one part of it has to be changed. Oh god, Yuumi League of Legends. Okay. You know what I was saying at the start of the video? About how pocket supports kind of encourage a very inactive playstyle. You're not going to be interacting much with anyone other than the one ally you're attached to. So Yuumi takes what Mercy did when Overwatch was released come 2016. You know, she takes that, she looks at it, and she decides, you know what? What if we just crank that up to 11? Because Yuumi wants nothing more than for you to get an AFK warning because you're actually trying to use her passive. This is a genuine issue Yuumi players have. They have to jump onto an ally at the beginning of the match as quick as they can so they can start ramping up the pockets that they can eventually do, but they end up getting an AFK warning for it. Oh god, this is not going to be okay. I could spend ages talking about Yuumi, but honestly she deserves her own video for the amount of problems I have with her. So let's just speed through this one nice and quick, because I spent way too long on Mercy. So basically, give Yuumi a limit for how long she can sit on one character so that she actually jumps around and makes herself useful outside of being attached. And also, let's take a look at Comfy in Pokémon Unite to see how Yuumi done well actually looks. Triage, Comfy's passive, lets Comfy generate flowers, be it from empowered autos or going into bushes. When using an ability, Comfy can attach to a Pokemon, granting them a shield for 15% of Comfy's max HP. Also, after attaching, their next auto becomes empowered and grants flowers. As for abilities, well, Synthesis is a heal that'll heal more depending on the flower amount, and it can turn into either Floral Healing, which heals but turns excess healing into a shield, or Sweet Kiss, a charging move that charms any enemies in an area around Comfy, charming longer depending on the flower count. And this is so good. Just the passive and one basic ability are all you need to understand the gameplay. Attack the enemy, get flowers, jump onto your ally, shield, heal, consume those flowers which you just got, and then get the hell back off and start damaging again. Your other basic ability, Vine Whip, is just a damaging slow, turning into Magical Leaf for a stun, or Grass Knot for a root that gets small range buffs when you're attached to your allies. And finally, the ult places grass on the ground, which heals allies and obviously can be used to grant you flowers. This is how an attachment support should actually be designed. You have valid reasons which rarely require you to jump off your target and actually, move. As unfortunate as it may be for some Yuumi players, having the ability to play League of Legends perfectly and watch Netflix at the same time shouldn't exactly be encouraged in a game. Now I do know I did only name 2 characters for this poster children of pocketing, but there's one more character who I want to bring up because I believe they're actually Mercy done right, and that's going to be Ray from Paladins. Starting with the most obvious comparison, she's got her own heal beam, but she can heal and shoot at the same time, automatically making her more proactive than Mercy, but letting Mercy gun down people while healing her Pharah isn't exactly something I think I want to see, but I digress. Envelop causes the max damage her and a linked ally can take to be reduced to a cap, and it gives some bonus move speed and jump height. She also has a heal projectile that bounces between allies, and finally, her ult gives herself and a connected ally immunity for 2 seconds, along with a massive 75% heal. Now some of you might not get why I believe she's a better designed Mercy, and that's fair enough because I haven't fully explained things yet. Starting off, her beam can actually be placed on enemies, reducing their move speed and doing a bit of damage. So she always has the choice to make, healing an ally or debuffing an enemy. Along with that, Paladins has a selection of talents and loadouts for characters that change their abilities drastically. For Ray, she can either have the range of chain heal bounces increase, make it so when Envelop is used while you're connected to an enemy, it stops them from receiving any healing, or change Link to no longer last forever, but instead have a cooldown and have its effects tripled. All of these let you change up your playstyle quite a bit. If you want to be all in on healing and you do just love pocketing, well look, you can still do it with extension, but if you prefer disrupting the enemy, then restraint and focus would be perfect. It also doesn't end there either. All the options you have available to you in your loadout let you pick and choose, so if you genuinely just enjoy pocketing someone, it's still an option, but it's not always the de facto best way to play. You can have Ray builds that are all about healing, ones that exist entirely to ruin an enemy's day, or ones that just offer a complete mix of attacking, disrupting, and healing and buffing. This is how the Mercy style of a support should really be done. It shouldn't just be, lash onto an ally and we'll deal with the rest when we have to deal with it. Ray has several incentives to do anything other than just have the beam on an ally and go about her day. It's still an option, but there's a lot of things in her kit that allow her to do a lot more than just that. So in short, how do we fix these pocket healers? How do we stop the issues that they create? It's very simple, and it's just giving them an incentive to not pocket. But apparently game devs just do not want to be adding this into their games for some reason. Like Pokémon Unite has made a better Yuumi than League of Legends has. But now, with this overly lengthy intro done, I want to jump into a category of characters that I'm going to call dubiously pocketers. They're not quite as egregious as Mercy or Yuumi, but there's still a lot of aspects to their playstyle, or even just complete playstyles that players created, that pretty much turn them into pocket characters either way. And much like with pocketers to begin with, there's a poster child for the dubious pocketers, and that's going to be Sage from Valorant. Now why do I say Sage and not herself and Skye? Well, Skye has a limited amount of healing, and it's an AoE. But moving back to Sage anyway, well look, I'm sure we've all heard about pocket Sages, whether we want to or not. Valorant was a mistake, honestly. They follow their duelist around all game, only healing and rezzing them. But I say she's dubiously a pocket, well, because she can't do this permanently. Her heal has a cooldown, and Valorant is the type of game where it doesn't matter if someone is being healed in the middle of a fight or not. And obviously, with Resurrection being an ultimate, she isn't exactly sprinting around with that every round. What I'm getting at is that Sage is dubiously a pocket because she just doesn't have the resources as someone like Mercy to continuously pocket someone, and it is still the same as any other agent in Valorant, since they're all encouraged to shoot the enemy first and foremost. Returning to the MOBA genre for a moment, we're going to be jumping into Heroes of the Storm. I do not play HOTS. This character was recommended to me by one of my friends who has a friend who does play HOTS. It's an entire mess, but sure luck. Abathur from Heroes of the Storm is basically, for all the League of Legends players I know, a mix between ZZ Rot Portal, Yuumi, and pre-rework Rek'Sai. Let me explain. He can tunnel to anywhere with vision on the map. It spawns a minion every 15 seconds that runs down the closest lane and can place a Symbiote on allies. Now this Symbiote, I don't know how to say this, I'm very sorry in advance, is where his attachment playstyle lies. When controlling the symbiote, he gains new abilities, 2 of which just being damage, and a third being a shield that heals for as long as the shield persists. This symbiote also grants XP for any enemies that die near it. What this means is that Abathur is actually encouraged to stay away from his team and push out his solo lane, but can still pick and choose to support an ally no matter where he is on the map. You have to be really proactive if you want to get the most out of Abathur's kit. Along with the fact that he's a StarCraft character, they actually nailed that fantasy really well, because he does sit back in one lane, soak in XP in 2 different ways, but he's still able to support his team, and he has to have good map awareness if he wants to do things properly. But also something funny I discovered as I was researching him just to see, what the hell does he do? It says in his bio that he hates pronouns. So I just wanted to believe that the Overwatch cast in Heroes of the Storm actually just has double damage versus Abathur. Do I need to explain? Overwatch is like the skill squad. Sticking with MOBAs for a moment, we're going to return to League of Legends so that we can take a quick look at Lulu. Now some people would argue, hey no, she is a pocket character, But I would say no, she's a lot more of a dubious pocketer, at least if you want to play her like an actual human being. In case you aren't aware, Lulu's abilities have different effects depending on whether or not they're cast on an enemy or ally, which is why I believe she is entirely different from Yuumi, because you need to weigh out your decisions. Do you use W to give your ADC some move speed and attack speed, or do you save it for the Rengar who's about to come in? The funny thing is that Lulu is older than Yuumi, yet has a much more coherent design, at least when it comes to being an active support. 200 years, everyone. You know, like, as I'm writing the script, I've got one more character written down as dubiously Pocket, but I don't know if I should say it, because I do enjoy not being told to turn off my lungs because I decided to talk about one of the strangest communities in gaming. But look, fuck it, who cares? Medic TF2. We're talking about Medic TF2. Now, look, let's start here. I'm not getting into an argument about Overwatch versus TF2. I don't care. I'm not paid enough to care. These are two different games. Yes, they're both class-based shooters with objectives and blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Alright? I just don't care. They're two very, very different games. There's no point in drawing comparisons, lads. Moving on, Medic is the most Pocket out of anyone on the Dubious Pocket list, I cannot lie. The only reason I have him down as dubiously Pocket instead of outright Pocket is because I haven't encountered an E-Dater who plays Medic. So, to conclude, I don't like pocketing, and I do not think it should ever be a valid playstyle for any character in any game. Or at least, if it's gonna be a playstyle, alright, I'll live with it, but it shouldn't be their de facto best one and easiest one. But likewise, there should never be a character where they need a pocket to function or they're gonna be useless. I'm mostly talking about Pharah with this one, and obviously yes, I'm a little bit biased, but it doesn't change the fact that she is equally as much of a part of the problem. But tell me yourselves, what are some pocket characters of games that you think are also done terribly? Or pocket characters that you think are actually done really well? Or maybe you just want to tell me how I'm wrong, and look, I'll at least listen to you, so tell me in the comments, go ahead. But sure, look, if you're still here, drop a like, drop a sub, and I'll talk to you next time, lads.